Okay, guys, we are on chapter 11 of Billy Miller Makes Wish. Making as little noise as possible, Billy went up to his bedroom to get his markers and some paper. He set them out for Sal on the floor in the corner of the big main room of the basement. She settled in right away. She sat with her back to him and said over her shoulder, "You can't watch me. It's a surprise." "Fine," he said, feeling annoyed, although he thought that it would probably be better not to watch anyway. He didn't want to torture himself with witnessing his markers possibly being ruined. But the good thing was that Sal was quiet, very quiet, so Billy returned to the task at hand. It didn't take Billy long to lose steam. Half-heartedly, he pushed some boxes around and shoved others with his feet, but he wasn't making real progress. He got sidetracked by looking inside some of the boxes. Then he wandered into the dark, shadowy room, taken up by the furnace, the hot water heater, and a network of pipes that ran along the ceiling and up and down the walls. When Billy was little, he was certain that something evil lived in the furnace room. Or worse, that the room itself was alive, exposing its creaky, private insides. The smell of it, the sound of it, the feel of it, all of it had convinced him of this. It was Papa who had helped Billy get over his fear of the furnace room. With a dim single light bulb turned on overhead and 2 flashlights, one for each of them shining, Papa had led Billy through the room, explaining how and why things worked and what the noises actually were. "When we turned on the heat upstairs," Papa said, "the igniter in the furnace makes the clicking sound you're talking about. And the toilet flushing makes a swooshing sound." Papa had yelled upstairs, asking Mama to flush the toilet. "Now listen," Papa had said. "You'll hear it." The water rushed through the pipes like a terrifying raging river. Using his flashlight, Papa indicated the path of the water. Billy followed the bouncing shaft of light as it traveled along the room, tracing the pipes. He felt surrounded by the noise. It was everywhere, but it wasn't scary any longer because he understood it. I still don't like the smell," Billy had said. "I think it smells like rain in here," Papa had said, trying to think of it that way. "Rain is nice." One by one, Papa had addressed Billy's worries until they'd fizzled until they were gone. Now, it still was not Billy's favorite room in the house, but it didn't scare him. It was just a room. He smiled to himself as he stood on the threshold thinking of Papa. He wondered how art camp was going. It suddenly occurred to Billy that he hadn't heard a peep from Sal, which was highly unusual. He left the furnace room and crept toward her, keeping a safe distance. She appeared busy, engrossed, hunching over whatever she was working on, but curiously, the stack of paper beside her seemed neat and untouched. He thought by now she would have run out of paper, and that her drawings would be scattered across the floor. Billy was suspicious. He inched closer. He stopped. She still hadn't noticed him. He was directly behind her. He leaned to one side and craned his neck. "Sal!" he said with his eyes widened. Sal jerked around. What are you doing?" "I'm making tattoos just like Valerie. Now I can be the real thing and I can deliver the mail when I'm done." "Sal!" he had said again, bewildered because he didn't know what else to say. "Valerie only has 3 butterflies. I have millions." Sal didn't have millions, but she had a lot. Sal's legs were covered from her ankles to her knees with what looked to Billy like colorful blobs and squiggles, but to Sal were butterflies. "Mama said I had to wait till I was 18, said Sal, "but I did it myself." "Yeah, you did it," thought Billy. "You really did it." He picked up a marker, turned it in his hand and read the label, and he put it down and picked up another one and another, and he picked up the black marker Sal had been using. Reading the label caused his breath to catch. "Oh, no," he said. "What?" said Sal. She was tilting her head and turning her outstretched legs, admiring them. Her smile was toothy. "The black one's permanent," said Billy. "What's that mean?" "It means it won't wash off." "Good," said Sal. "I like my butterfly tattoos." "But they're not good." They don't even look professional. They look like a baby scribbled all over your legs." Sal took a deep breath. She traced over one of her butterflies with her finger. "You don't like them?" she asked. "Who cares if I like them?" said Billy. "They're permanent." "Permanent?" she whispered. "Don't you understand?" said Billy. "Don't you get it? Permanent means that you're going to have ugly black marks on your legs forever, even if you live to be 100. Judging by Sal's sunken face, she understood. It was so quiet, even the furnace room was silent. Sal licked her finger and rubbed one of the butterflies. The blue and the green wings smeared, but the black outline did not. She licked her finger again and rubbed harder. The color was now nearly gone. The black was unchanged. Then Sal pulled her legs up and tried to cover them by wrapping her arms around them. Her knees were under her chin. She seemed to be trying to make herself smaller, drawing inward. And she looked at Billy. Her eyes were shiny with welled-up tears and probed his, as if to say, how will you fix this? "I don't like this," Sal said in a thin, squeaky voice. She started rocking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Billy knew this was not good. Sal's rocking was often accompanied first by a whimper and then a full-fledged, very loud cry. He chewed on his lower lip until he tasted blood. He tried to think of something to do, something that would keep Sal from throwing a fit. Something that would keep Mama from being disturbed. He knew that on the high shelf by the basement sink, Mama and Papa kept a bottle of bleach and canister of powder cleanser, along with other things that were dangerous, even poisonous. Maybe they would remove the black marker, but he wasn't allowed to touch them, and he didn't think Mama would want him to do that, even in an emergency. Too risky. He thought of taking one of the Drip Sisters and hiding it. He could pretend it was missing to create a distraction for Sal. After a while, he thought he could find it, and then maybe she'd be happy that she'd forget all about her tattoos. Unlikely. Sal was rocking ferociously now, as if she were riding a sea of despair, facing wave upon wave of dread. Billy could think of nothing to do but make sure the door to upstairs was closed, and he did that. Then he prepared himself for the inevitable crying by balling his hands into his fists, squeezing his eyes shut, and standing as still as stone. The tears came. They came and came. Sal swiped at them and licked them from her splotchy pink cheeks. At first her crying was quiet, but gradually it escalated into what was very loud, and then so loud that Billy knew that Mama would have to be wearing extra powerful earplugs not to hear it. "Shh," Billy murmured. It did no good. But he continued, "Shh, you'll wake Mama." And then, like a shaft of light, Mama's voice broke into the room. "I'm awake." And that's chapter 11.